people's hands, right?
Exactly.
Right, we're rolling, George. We're already in.
All right.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Good to finally meet you in person.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Well, we were just talking 2 minutes ago in the coffee shop. I didn't tell you, but I was like, you know, we had a little bit of a hiatus because of little one arriving.
Yeah.
And I went back on the Illuma page and I was like, because we were talking to Hannah previously about coming on the show, and I was scrolling through and I was like, I can't find her. Has she blocked us? Or has she deleted her account or whatever? And then all of a sudden, I think someone, Ian or maybe Raw, someone liked one of the posts, and then it popped up in my feed. I was like, oh, she's changed her name. So I was getting all paranoid. But yeah, good to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too.
And you're only around the corner as well.
Yep, just up the road.
Dead handy. Well,
Yeah.
we wanted to have a conversation with you because before we kind of took our little break, we followed your page for ages.
We did.
And it was really useful for us, but also for me, very insightful. And I'll probably let Eleanor delve into this a little bit more, but when I'm talking about acupuncture here, when we started our journey, Eleanor got into acupuncture very early,
I did.
and it was through Ian.
Yep.
Yeah. Ian
When he practiced.
Stones from Test Him, years ago, 2021, I believe.
Oh, you can actually say that. It was years ago.
It was years ago. But I didn't, when Eleanor told me that she was going to be having acupuncture, my initial reaction was like, come on. Like, that was my initial, and I don't mind, I'll put my hands
Or,
up.
how much is this going to cost me?
And it was the second one. I was like,
How much?
I was like, I would like to do, I can't remember how long the course was, but I was like, I'd like to do this course of acupuncture. And it's like, however many weeks long. You were like, really?
Well, because obviously when you're talking about fertility or infertility or that, the cost of treatment and all that stuff, you have to factor it in, right? And so it was like another thing. And the thing is, you were doing your best to try and find answers, and that's all you wanted to do. But anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. The reason we've got you down today as well, as much as you're lovely, is to talk about acupuncture, the benefits, your experience, and kind of your journey into that. So maybe to start with, a little introduction from yourself, and then tell us what you do. That'd be
Okay.
great.
Thank you. So my name's Hannah. I am an acupuncturist. I've specialised in fertility for the last 15 years. And my journey in was really because I had my children and I retrained as an acupuncturist, and the people that came through my door were mostly women looking for help trying to conceive. And so very quickly I realised I had to specialise in fertility and I had to get good at it because people were, quite frankly, they were desperate and also very vulnerable. So that is what I did. I spent a long time researching, training, doing every qualification out there that was both related to Chinese medicine, but also women's health and fertility. So I could really become an expert in the field. And then my background is teaching. So I used to teach actually in China, which is not where I found acupuncture. But anyway, I sort of did a full circle and used my teaching. Because what I realised was when you work with people one-to-one, you can only ever work with that person. You can only ever educate, inform, care and support that one person. And what the worst thing about being an acupuncturist was you can't reach loads of people. So I sort of thought about my teaching background, thought about what I used to do and thought, hang on a minute, I'm going to start teaching, I'm going to start a podcast because I need to get this information to more people because daily, people came into clinic and they were like, why has no one told me this before? Why am I sat as a 38-year-old woman in an acupuncture room being told information that I should have known in my early 20s? And so that was the kind of linchpin of changing the model of my business.
Wow. And so how long ago was it you went into this fertility, specifically for fertility acupuncture?
Probably about 10 years ago, maybe even longer. And then actually it was COVID that brought around this sort of move onto the online space because I had to close down my practice. I was stuck at home and I just got into the education, and actually I got into Instagram because before then I'd spent the whole of my business life going, I'm not going on that bloody Instagram.
Yeah.
It is for losers, you know. I was really anti-social media. And then COVID hit and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, someone's got a point here. This is a really good way of reaching people.
Completely.
It is.
And you do a great job of that.
I love your videos.
Well, I've got a D in drama A level, so I feel like that comes into
you.
Yeah, you can see it. So so it's kind of like using a lot of my skills that I've had in the past to kind of be where we are now.
And when you say women were coming like flocking to you,
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that because I'm interested to know where they got the information that acupuncture can help, because I didn't know at all. This is 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, obviously you don't know until you're in it, right? And then you have to learn these things. But is this something that's more recently discovered to help with fertility, or has this been in the Western world? Or is this has been around for a while? I don't know.
I mean, it's a good question. When I first went into practice, when I first had my experience of acupuncture, it was with a lady called Emma Cannon, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. And coincidentally, she lived around the corner from me. I went to see her for acupuncture, and she specialised in women's health and fertility. And she really was the leading light in fertility and acupuncture in the UK. She wrote books. She went on a lot of, I guess it wasn't podcasts back in the day, but she was often like in, fashion articles and in magazines. She was really a spearhead for fertility acupuncture. So she really led the way. And that must have been, well, my daughter's 21 now, so 21 years ago that she was doing that work. So it's been around for a long time, but I think with the advent of social media, with the sort of change in the way that we talk about fertility, the association of acupuncture and fertility has just grown and grown and grown and become much more mainstream. So, back in the day, I was knocking on the doors of fertility clinics, and now fertility clinics are really open to it. They've got acupuncturists within their own clinics. Lots and lots of doctors are really seeing the benefit of it. So there has been a real change in the way that people think about acupuncture.
Like the perception of it.
Yeah.
Because didn't we have mixed reviews in terms of, because we had like several clinics, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Weren't certain clinics pro acupuncture and some were like, they don't really, like it's almost disregarded.
The first clinic, I'm not
going to mention names,
but I don't remember what they said, but I do remember the clinic that we had success with. They really advocated it and suggested it. Not that we didn't do it through them. We'll get onto that. But I have a friend who does it. What I was going to ask, just while it's fresh in my mind, is so how are you finding the amount of people coming to you now? Like, as in, do you think there's been a huge rise in infertility, basically, and people requiring your help? And is that because it's just got worse, or because more people are open to it?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a number of different factors. I mean, I was at the fertility conference in Edinburgh at the start of the year, and it was quite a depressing conference in that they were just looking at the statistics about the problems of fertility, and it was all a downwards trajectory.
It's not good.
So, sperm health, the age that people are trying to conceive, the number of people accessing IVF, these problems are getting worse. The toxicity in terms of plastics and all of this knock-on effect for our fertility really is increasing. So I think there has been a rise in the fertility issue, combined with this understanding that fertility isn't just medical. So obviously IVF clinics are very medical and they are fantastic and, brilliant, but there's also been this huge recognition of the impact of the emotional side, the psychological side of a fertility experience, which I'm sure you two have experienced yourselves. And so clinics have realised we need to do something about that. How do we support people with their nervous system, with their anxiety, with their depression, with their stress levels? Like, what can we do? And acupuncture, I think, kind of fits into some of that support. And people are realising that you can't just give people medication, send them off and put them through IVF without looking after that stuff, because you're missing a trick. Because it's about moving that dial to give people the best opportunity. And, there is so much about fertility that we don't understand. There's so much unexplained fertility problems. And we sort of fit into that of really helping to address those underlying issues that fertility clinics might not be digging into. And that's what we do.
Can we talk about a bit about what it does and how it helps? For people who, let's just say people are listening who haven't got a clue about how acupuncture works and especially how it helps with fertility. Can we talk a bit about that?
Yeah, is there a difference between your, I don't know if you'd call it your everyday acupuncture, but I know the day I had my embryo transfer, I had acupuncture with our dear friend who
we can talk about her.
Alvina, who she only practices it now for close friends. And I saw her. We got up crack of dawn,
so early to get there in time.
Had acupuncture with her.
Worth it though.
Oh god, yeah. And then we drove to Epsom to go and have the embryo transfer, and then we went straight back to her house because that's where her practice is, and then she did more acupuncture on me. But that was very specific to what was being obviously done to me that morning. The transfer day. But is that type of acupuncture different to maybe somebody who's going because, I don't know, they've got a sore knee or something?
Yeah, it is. I mean, all acupuncture works on the same way in that it's trying to balance energy. So we're putting needles into points around the body and we're trying to create this free flow of energy.
Yeah.
So if you think of it like an electric circuit, and that's what we're doing. When it comes to fertility, it's slightly different in that we're specialising in certain areas and we're thinking about certain areas. So when you look at the research behind acupuncture and fertility, there's sort of three big areas. So the first area is about the brain talking to the ovaries or the brain talking to the gonads. That communication pathway, it helps with that communication pathway. The second one is blood flow. So again, to the testicles, to the ovaries, to the reproductive organs. We do a lot of needles that are like below the belly button, above the pubic bone. We use a lot of electroacupuncture to really ramp things up.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, it feels
it's like
funny.
Is it what it sounds like?
Ian used to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, you literally put the needles in and you wire people up a bit like a mini car battery.
It feels like little, it doesn't hurt. It's almost like little
fizzes.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah. So,
wow, I didn't know about that.
And that really helps stimulate blood flow because if you think about it, if you're doing local points, you're basically creating micro trauma to the area, and you're saying to the body, send blood, send energy. Something's happening in this area, so it's good for the blood flow. And the third one, which I think kind of has a knock-on effect to all of the areas, is it's really good for reducing cortisol, adrenaline, stress. So, as you know, my podcast called "Don't Tell Me to Relax" because you can't tell somebody. It's that vicious cycle. You can't say somebody going through fertility, just relax. You know all the bullshit.
But people still do.
People still say it all the time. But what acupuncture does is it really helps you to get rid of that adrenaline and put you into that rest and digest place. So out of the sort of fight and flight, rest and digest. And it is magic for that. And it might be that you only experience that sensation for the 20 minutes you're in the treatment, 30 minutes you're in the treatment. But it's a reminder to the body to go back there because what happens is we get stuck in this fight and flight because we're under continuous chronic stress. It doesn't go away. You wake up with it, you go through the day with it, you take it to bed. And it's about finding space in your life where you can just put that to one side and allow your body to be. And that is where the magic, I think, happens because when your body is in that place, everything works better. Your reproductive system, your digestive system, your nervous system, your immune system, it's all working better. So if we go back to think about that electric circuit, that is what we're doing.
I remember when you used to go to your sessions and
go to sleep.
You used to come back and go, I feel so relaxed.
I think because I don't really get to practice it every day at the moment because we've got a baby, but I feel a long time meditated every day.
Yep.
And I think because I was able to get myself quite easily into a meditative state, when Ian would leave the room and he'd say, right, just try and relax, I'd be like, I'll be asleep before he'd even left the room. And we'd have this lovely music on and I always felt so grounded and peaceful during and afterwards.
Yeah. And that is really where magic comes into it because it's a reminder to the body that you're safe and that everything is okay, even if it is just for that moment. And in the modern life, and I've got new theories about this, in modern life, we can't find those moments. And great if you can meditate, but lots of people just can't access. It's so far removed from their daily life of screens, on the go, noise, busyness, that it's difficult to find that space, and that's what we try to do.
It couldn't be any more the opposite to normal life now. Normal life is most people will get up and look at their phone within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just constant.
And you're constantly stimulated.
Yeah.
So even I remember trying to meditate. You used to do it religiously. Every morning you get up, and we were maybe 3 or 4 years into our fertility journey. You would get up and you'd be doing 5-10 minutes. You had that app, which cost a fortune. I always used to say you can get a cheaper one than that. It's about 17 quid. But that's £17 a month used to keep you calm every day. You get up and you do that religiously. But I struggled.
You did.
I did it for
You always did.
I always did it. I got up and I did it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't actually there. I was never in the place that Eleanor used to get. That state of like tranquil.
That's hard though. And
yeah.
And my sister's been meditating, I'd say, long, like years. I mean, she meditates for about 2 hours every day.
Wow.
And
impressive.
But I mean, and she goes to, every time we'll go wherever she goes to, but I have been there. I have got myself to that state where I'm somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's hard. And she's still, even however many years down the line, finds it tough to get there. And it is something which so that's why they call it a practice, I guess, because you do have to keep practicing. And I think in this day and age that we are in now, because everything is so fast and so quick and you're on and there's always something to do, it is so much harder to just be in your body and just take a minute to breathe.
Yeah.
And that the practice that you have then, is it? Oh, sorry, you hear my voice go. A little bam coming, it just came up from down below. Is there different sort of? What I'm trying to say is, you've got the stuff where you're trying to stimulate certain parts. You're talking about above the pubic bone and all those sort of things. But is there also a level that you offer which is just for relaxation as well?
Yeah. So often we do what's called NADA, which are points in the ear. And so because sometimes, especially if you're going through IVF and you've got lots and lots of needles and you're having lots of injections, sometimes what we do is we just do like acupuncture needles in the ear, or we might use press seeds.
Those are fascinating.
Yeah, they're good, aren't they?
What are they? Sorry.
It's like, they're like little seeds that you put, often you put them on the ear, or you can put them on acupuncture points. If people don't want needles, and if it feels like too much, they've had enough, you can just stimulate the points with the seeds, and it just puts the pressure on and sort of activates them. Really popular in the ear. And so ear points are really, really good for relaxation, calming the mind, sort of switching off that sort of overthinking that is so common. So, it's great for that.
Okay. Well, you know, when you went for your we did the transfer. You did the transfer. I didn't do any transfers. But when we did transfer day, you came back from El Reno and you had some things in your ear.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I thought they were like little magnets.
Well, sometimes they can be magnets, they can be little press studs, they come in. It's
so
anything that's like, usually on a plaster. Ours are little crystals because we have really nice ones.
Oh, lush. That sounds
crystals or
big.
little gold balls that we have on ours. Sometimes we have silver depending on your makeup or your jewellery type. So.
I'd be gold.
Very customized.
We've sort of taken it up a level in our clinics. And they just literally like sit on the points and they stimulate them. So you can use anything really, but magnets, little ball bearings, whatever, but it works really well.
Amazing. I'm really intrigued by all this because I had absolutely no idea the benefits of acupuncture. I think there's a lot of parts of the human body which I didn't really understand until you get into these things. I mean, we're even talking about something like IVF. I knew that IVF was helping people to get pregnant in a lab. That's all I thought in my head. And so then you're in it and you actually have to figure out what's actually involved in this process. Acupuncture is one of those things. And when we had Ian on and we were talking to him about, because when Eleanor came back from their first appointment and he was like, I'm going to do this block thing. And what did Ian say? Something like, who's this guy Eleanor's going to see, this bone shaker or something, whatever he's talking about. And I was just like, I kind of did have that vision, that view that it was just like a bit woo-woo. And I'm just being heart and sleeve here because I obviously have a different opinion now, especially after, we did 3 cycles of IVF. And that last one is the only one where we did the acupuncture.
On the day of the transfer.
On the day before and then after. there was the transfer day.
Before, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do it on the other cycles.
No, but that when I was having acupuncture with Ian, that was I was seeing him for quite a long time, and we specifically ramped it up just before my first round of IVF, and that see was successful. I know we lost it, but it still definitely helped on the lead up to that part of the journey.
Even whether it was internal or even mentally,
just keeping me calm.
For you, because you used to find that very grounding, and it's a very unsteady time.
It is. Yeah.
For it was in a relationship or with yourself, there's so many unknowns. Everything's a gamble, and there's no certainties, right? But certain things you can control, and that's one thing you were adamant that you were going to do.
It was because I would say, sorry, that we're maybe myself more than you. I'm really holistic, and before we went anywhere near the IVF route, which I was obviously open to doing if we needed to do that. But I was like, I want to try everything I can myself through more natural routes before going down that route. And even though when we did our third round, we'd had a big break and everything, and we tried other things, there were so many natural things I did on the lead up to us starting that third round, which I just know will have helped. And that was the acupuncture was one, red light therapy. I was doing 2 infrared saunas a week, very specific diet because of my PCOS.
Forget about all these things.
Meditating every day, daily massage to myself, all of these different things. I just think stacked together, I just know that will have helped my body be in the prime spot it needed to be in for the third round to work. And I just know it.
It's like a compound effect of all these little things.
Yeah.
You can't just put all your eggs in one basket and go, I'm going to do acupuncture, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's got to be. It's an accumulation of different things.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what we say, and that is probably the difference if you went to see a general acupuncturist or fertility acupuncturist. We're going to say we're part of a bigger picture, and as practitioners we have a duty of care to make sure that when we're working with someone, we're also doing all that sort of fertility education alongside the treatment. So we're making sure they're getting their bloods done, we're making sure they're having a scan, we're making sure their partner's being thoroughly investigated, we're making sure they're tracking their cycle. We're doing all those sort of medical, or pointing them in the direction of medical advice and information, because we don't work with somebody for 6 months and then find out that their partner has got a semen issue and we need to address that. So we kind of really have a really good duty of care to really explore things, highlight things, pass on information, so that what I always want is patients to feel really informed so they make empowered decisions, because so many people come and they go, hang on a minute, whoa, nobody's ever tested my iron. No one's ever looked at my thyroid antibodies. And I'm not a nutritionist. I can't do that work, but I can highlight it to somebody. We've got a nutritionist in our team. She looks at all that side of things, because you will only get so far with acupuncture. Acupuncture is brilliant, but it is not the solution to everybody's problem. And we're always really, really clear on that.
That's amazing. What is it? You said work with someone for 6 months. You just a comment on that.
Yeah.
What does it look like? Say, for example, I'm a lady and I come to you and say, I've heard about acupuncture for fertility. I want to try it out. What's that process look like from someone coming to you for that first conversation to kind of going into treatment with you?
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot, because what we ask them to do is that we ask them to fill in a health history questionnaire. We'll ask them to get their partner, if they've got a partner, to fill in the health history questionnaire. So the female's filling it in, the man's filling it in. Before they come in for treatment, we're reading through everything. And as practitioners, we're thinking, okay, what's happening here? Like, what could be being missed? The female usually comes in for treatment. They can bring the man in if they want, and we really encourage them to do that. And then we'll go through and ask them lots of questions. So we spend at least an hour asking them everything about their life. When did your period start? What are your periods like? When did you go on contraception? What happened when you stopped? What's your vaginal discharge like? Do you know when you ovulate? How often do you have sex? We ask all the questions because we want to know the detail, because often we find things like people say, oh, I know when I'm ovulating because my app tells me.
Yeah.
And we're like, hold on a minute. rewind, let's have a chat. Or people will say, we're having sex every single day, you know, between period and my next period starting. We're like, hang on a minute, that might be too much. Or, you know what, I have this funny discharge, but it comes every month and then it goes, and I've never thought anything about it. We're looking for those red flags in a person's situation, because none of us were ever told anything about trying to conceive, ever.
Nope.
If we were lucky, we might have got something about how not to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And
No,
so
that was it.
people often come in and, you know, and they don't have that information because no one's ever told it to us. And we all think you have sex, you get pregnant, because that's what they told us. And so we really want to get into the nitty gritty of what's happening in a person's life. What time do you go to bed? What time do you get up in the morning? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Do you have energy slumps after you've eaten? Do you open your bowels every day? Do you have painful poo? You know, all of these questions give us indications of things that might be happening in their body that might be contributing to not being optimal for fertility. Some things might be a massive red flag, and other things might be a small flag that need to be addressed as part of a bigger picture of getting someone to be really as healthy as possible. And it's not perfection, because we're not down with that. It's about being aware of what you can do within reason that can actually make a difference when you add it all up together and get proper investigations done. So, which is why we look at the man. We want to make sure he's had a semen test. We want to make sure he's had it done twice. We want to make sure that we're thinking about his microbiome, that we're looking at DNA fragmentation, that he's having bloods, that he's having a scan, because we're so often sat with the female and nobody's asking these questions about the man. So that is kind of our duty of care, to really dig into that, the couple. You know, we're fortunate. We're in private practice. We can spend time with our patients. When you're in an IVF clinic or your GP clinic, GP doctors, what do you get? 10 minutes. IVF clinic, they're there to talk to you about IVF. Fair enough. I'm not got any problem with that. But they're not necessarily there to dig into the health history of two people and why they might be sitting in front of you to do IVF. Their job is to go, you've got some sperm, you've got some eggs, there is a uterus, let's do treatment.
We know that all too well.
Yeah. So we kind of try and fill that gap between a GP and an IVF clinic with all that kind of lifestyle, health, general health stuff that for some people can make a difference, and some people it's getting them really well prepared for their IVF cycle.
Well, it's quite a lot then.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot. No,
it is
it's
a lot.
really good way.
Yeah.
I wish we had that,
I know.
because it wasn't until we went to a new clinic that it wasn't even at the new clinic. It was, we'd had 2 losses at this point. We went to a very specific reoccurring miscarriage clinic.
Yep.
And I had about, 16 vials of blood taken.
Yep.
Turned out I had very high levels of natural killer cells. Never heard of that in my life. And the doctor asked me 3 or 4 very basic questions. He said, do you mind if can I scan your ovaries? I think you've got PCOS. And I was like, sorry, what? Like, gosh. Don't know what that is. And it's like, of course. And literally within seconds, he said, look, there you go. There's a perfect, like, we call it a pearl necklace on both of your ovaries. You've got polycystic ovaries. And I was like, I've had 2 rounds of IVF. Like, what? And now the amount of scans that I had, and it was private. Why is this only being told to me now?
That was brutal to find that out.
It was
obviously we can put it to one side now because we're in the position we are, where we're so lucky to find our little miracle. But at the time, in that moment when we knew that, it was
I didn't even have you with me because
I know I
you
wasn't
had
there.
COVID at the time. So
Yeah.
I was so upset, because I was upset but also relieved, because I was like, finally, after years, I've got an actual answer. It's almost like, being told you have something there's a reason for what's happened. But I was also really angry, because I just thought, why has this been overlooked?
Yeah.
Why we could have done things so differently? Like, maybe we wouldn't have needed to be going on to a 3rd round of IVF and also going to a different clinic and doing all these other bits and pieces if this had just been diagnosed early on. And if it was so easy to tell me, why had it not been discovered?
Yeah. And a lot of the reason why is because nobody's ever sat down with you and asked you all those questions so you can build up a picture and get proper investigations done. And obviously we're not medics, we're not doctors, but what we can give is a broad view. So we can give like a holistic view combined with a medical view, and then you can get a much deeper understanding of your own body. And that's actually why I started the podcast. Exactly the story that you've just said is the story that we hear in clinic time and time and time again. And that was like, right, what we say in clinic, I need to get this out so everybody can hear it, because doing your own research, feeling empowered and making your own decisions in this journey is about the best that you can do, because as you know, everybody will have an opinion. Yeah. The opinion is often different. It's often conflicting. Yeah. The research is not conclusive. So you can see why it's such a difficult road to tread, because you don't know who to believe. You don't know whether you're being mugged off, being taken advantage of, people are taking your money. So all I say to people is, here is all the information. Read it, do your research, know what is out there, so that you can make an informed decision, because that is the best that you can do. And you sort of have to drive it yourself, which is unusual, because in other fields of medicine, the doctor tells you what to do and you do it. Whereas when it comes to fertility, I feel like because it's so confusing, you have to sort of take the onus upon yourself.
And you did that. You did that quite a lot.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
You took the lead with that massively. Kudos to you, because
so much searching and researching and, just thinking, nope, I know that there's more, there's something else I was like, there's just something that I know is just not quite right. And I think, the PCOS is a bit easier to diagnose, even though I also have slim PCOS.
Yeah.
But it was the high levels of natural killer cells, which, how would you ever know to maybe question that? I think someone put me in touch with somebody they know who had a sort of similar situation to us, and I had a coffee with her, and she said, you should go to this clinic in Epsom and ask to have this test. And I was like, well, I mean, I will give anything a go, I really will. And that's exactly what I had. And, I had to have special treatment for it via an intravenous drip. And it's just something I'd never heard of in my life, and I didn't even know was a thing. And I know some clinics, that with you saying, it's very confusing. Some clinics, there's only certain clinics that do these tests and do this treatment, because some doctors don't believe it works. But
which is like the conflicting opinions.
Yeah.
You have one clinic saying this, we recommend looking at this, and other ones going, don't bother. In a way.
I know. How do you make a decision? How do you make a decision when you're in that situation and you feel so vulnerable, you feel so desperate, and one person is saying you need to do this, and the other person is saying it's absolute rubbish.
And that person, they're both medical professionals.
Yeah.
So you always have this approach to listening to medical people who are in the medical space and going, right, if the doctor says that, then obviously
it must be gospel.
Yeah, it's kind of gospel. But then you've got two doctors saying the same thing, the different things about the same topic. You're like, well, which one?
Yeah.
And that like you said about being vulnerable, you're helpless.
Yeah.
And you just want answers. And when they're saying opposite things, you just don't know what to do.
It's really difficult. And interestingly, I was at the Fertility report last week, and one of the biggest things that they found, so they've researched a year, thousands of surveys from women, and it was something like 88 or 89% of women who thought they had something wrong did. So that idea that intuition should be ignored, or it's just a funny feeling, it actually, there is a truth in the intuition. And exactly like you said, I knew there was something. We ignore that something. Doctors are like, well, often it's overlooked, it's dismissed, and we're just told, it's in your head. Yeah, exactly. And yet the research says that if you feel like something is off, it probably is, and you need to get it investigated. And I thought that was a really powerful message that came out of their research.
That's an amazing statistic. Question, how, just on the confusing side of everything out there to do with fertility, how much noisier do you feel it has got? Because when I'm on Instagram, I feel like I am bombarded by so much conflicting information, like way more than usual. I've noticed anyway, and see, that's your job. So how are you finding being in that field right now?
I think it's hard. I have to sometimes take a step back and think about how do I want to show up in the space, because I think that I never want to prey on that vulnerability that we've talked about. And I mean, that's why I try and make things funny, and I try and do funny things, because I feel like it's a more comfortable space for me to be in. There is a lot around, you know, the fear mongering about these 3 things or this one, you know, and I find that sometimes quite uncomfortable, because I think it's hooking on that vulnerability. So I sort of have a duty of care, and I try and be very mindful of it. But I also think we're in echo chambers, because obviously I've got a fertility account. Lots and lots of information I see is about fertility. Sometimes I think, does anyone want to hear this anymore? Because I've been banging on about this for years. And then I go to the fertility and look, you know, watch their report, and they gave out a statistic: 44% of people still don't know when their ovulation window is. And so you're like, because I used to talk about ovulation windows years ago, and I'm like, oh, I've done it to death. Surely everyone knows now. Everyone's got an aura ring. Everybody knows what they're doing. But 44%,
really not.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, still not knowing. So sometimes it reminds me that going back to basics, talking about that fertility education, because that's the thing that I think is really missing, is that educational piece where you're not fear-mongering, you're just presenting helpful information about when your ovulation is, what warning signs might be to go and get investigated for your doctor. I think that's really, really helpful. And it's easy to think, oh, everyone's talking about it, but still lots and lots of people don't know about it. So,
but why do you think that? Why do you think why do you think so many people still go into this blind? Like, why are people not being educated about it? And when should it start? Should we be talking about it at school?
I would say at school. I would
college.
Say, with the teenagers. I think apparently TikTok is the place.
I've heard this. I'm not down with the kids.
It's the place for your sort of sexual health education.
Is it?
Apparently so. There's that. I think, again, back to the fertility report, I think it was like 50-60% of younger generation now are getting their medical information from TikTok.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So I
didn't even know it would be used.
I mean, whether it's right or not, I don't know. But so I think there is more information coming out about it. But the problem is that this idea of fertility being age dependent and age having an impact on fertility, that is one of the fundamental issues, is that people are leaving it later, and no judgment with that, totally understandable. You know, people have got to find a job, they've got to find a partner, or they don't have to, but, you know, they want to feel secure before they start their family. So people are naturally starting their families later, and this impact of age on fertility, maybe that message isn't as clear as it could be, because when you're younger, you're like, oh, I'll sort of push that down the line. Yeah. Maybe with the advent of all the egg freezing, people are like, I'm freezing my eggs, so that's my future fertility sorted.
Well, that doesn't guarantee
baby
it
absolutely
either.
Doesn't. So it's difficult, and I don't know what you do about it, because I don't think people want to have children younger because they're not in a position to do so. But really, that is what the evidence says. And having an awareness of that is, you know, the best thing to do, is to have your children when you're young.
How young are we talking?
Well,
20s?
Yeah.
Thing is, so we met, you were 23, I was 25?
24, 25.
25. God, thank goodness we didn't have a child then.
No,
I mean, we were literally children ourselves.
Yeah, we were.
And obviously it wasn't our choice to have a baby at the age I say the age I am now, I'm 38. You know, I
put out to pasture.
No, but I was basically put out to pasture by the NHS.
Yeah.
I didn't qualify for any rounds of IVF with them because I was over 35. And I thought, 35?
Yeah.
That's considered too old, which is madness. But I just, having baby in your 20s just...
my mum had me when she was 18, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, the average age now is 31.
Is it?
Yeah, and previous generations it would have been in 20s. And actually, a geriatric mother was someone who was 28 at one point in time.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very common now for people to be having their first in their 40s.
Yeah. So there's been in a very short space of time, there has been a massive shift into when we're having children. And I'm sure that is equally linked to this explosion in fertility problems and fertility issues. And nobody wants to hear that. And I understand that. There is still opportunities to conceive at every stage of life, but it does get harder.
Yeah.
That is the reality.
There's no taking away from it.
No, definitely not. I've got a question.
Question?
Yeah, question. Men and acupuncture.
Yes.
Because I actually have no idea about this.
Yeah.
You obviously got something to say.
Yeah.
But we've talked about you having it and then obviously the transfer day and all that stuff. But is it useful for men?
Yes, Jacky, this is a good question because you know what? This year I'm really trying to get more men into clinic. And I guess the problem is that in my time as a practitioner, I've seen lots and lots of women. So I'm really confident and I'm really like, yeah, I can treat women. We can do a lot. I'm really, confident in what we can do. And that comes across. We haven't treated many men, but I recently did some studying with an amazing practitioner. She's a doctor and an acupuncturist. She works over in Switzerland, and she only treats men. And she's written a book about acupuncture and how it works for men. And she was like, we get fantastic results because, again, it's all about blood flow. It's all about blood flow to the testicles. It's about reducing stress. It has a really good impact on oxidative stress. But they need to come for regular treatment. They need to do it over that 3-month period when the sperm's regenerating. So I was like, right, that's it. I'm going after the men in that we need to, because I think the more I see it in my own clinic, then the more I'm confident to go out and talk about it. But she was evangelical about it. So now I am trying to get the men in.
Mission.
Often what we do is with the men, we often send them off to our nutritionist and we're like, go and see the nutritionist, make sure your supplements are right, make sure you're not taking too many, make sure your diet's good. We look at lifestyle, but we don't get them in as much as we need to for acupuncture.
Okay, so that's the next.
This year.
You're going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love it.
Because I was thinking, if there's so many benefits for women, and you're talking about relaxing and the stress. I mean, we talked about, you just mentioned oxidative stress, which is something that I was doing loads of like long distance stuff, like really high intensity exercise. And I remember speaking to Ian, and Ian was like, "Cut that,
Stop it,
stop that now."
Doing an hour on the stepper in a full tracksuit.
Yeah, like I was trying to when I was trying to cut fat and stuff, I was doing 80 minutes, sometimes 80, 90 minutes on the stepper on level 6 with a hood up and everything, and like I was coming out drenched, and Ian was like, "Stop doing that. That is stressing you out." I'm basically frying, and I had a varicocele, so it was like double, triple whammy.
And then go and get in the sauna.
And then go in the sauna. So obviously, they stopped all that. I was saying before, I didn't wear boxes for 3 months, like no sauna,
no laptop on your lap,
no laptops. Like there's so many things compounds. But if it's helping women, sure. I was thinking surely it'll help men as well. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah,
and that's good for people to know because I didn't know that until just today. And if any lads are watching now, it's good for them to know.
Yeah,
if they're going to be starting this journey and their partner's going through, going into the acupuncture treatment, then lads get involved.
Yeah, well, the lady that did the talk for us and has written the book, she was saying it's really good for volume and motility. She was saying because she measures it. She's an embryologist doctor, so she measures semen tests before and after they've had treatment, so she can see. And she says if you do regular work, you're addressing all the lifestyle issues, then they are the two parameters that you can really make a difference. Which is obviously what you want if you're going in for an IVF cycle, or if you're trying to conceive naturally, is to really be able to make a difference.
Amazing.
That's fantastic.
Is there anything else? I feel like I've talked loads and asked loads of questions here, and you're the person who actually got into the acupuncture side. Is there anything else you want to ask before we wrap up? Or
yes, but my brain just doesn't work as well as it used.
No.
Literally, it's like, come on, where's your questions that you had?
Well, before we wrap up, Hannah, please tell everyone where they can find you, your podcast, all that stuff, please.
Yeah. So we are at Don't Tell Me to Relax, previously known as Hannah Pearn Acupuncture because I've rebranded. And so we're in London. We've got clinics in London. We've got clinics across the UK. So we've got an amazing team of affiliates that are all over the UK. So if you go on the website, you can see there.
What's the website?
Don't Tell Me to Relax.
.com.
.co.uk. Yeah.
We'll put it all.
We'll put it in the show notes.
We'll put all the links in. Don't worry.
We've obviously got the podcast, we've got the community, and within our team as well, we've got our nutritionist, we've got a reflexologist, we've got a fertility coach, we've got a fertility nurse, and one of our acupuncturists is also an embryologist. So,
amazing.
As a team, we meet weekly. So if you work with any of us, you work with all of us. Like, we caseload, we share information, we help each other. So we're really into this idea of upping our own skills and working together so that you get the best care.
Amazing. Right, well, thank you so much for coming down. Good to finally meet you as well.
And also, can I just say, I love that we've accidentally twins today.
You'd never catch me in leopard print or anything like, so it wouldn't be a trio.
No,
never.
We definitely wouldn't.
But yeah, thanks so much for coming down.
Pleasure.
Hannah. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.